Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are live here at Red Worldwide with Co-working Live, and we are so excited that you've joined with us today. And so today we're going to um, kind of delve into some areas that we had been working with regards to legacy. And some of you guys who, have been asking to have a more strategic plan for how you take care of your funds and what it is that you're doing for your families and how you are really structuring things have begun to come to a lot of our classes and our business courses, our classes that we've had on trust and legacy. And so we are excited that you're joining with us on this. We have some people who are members that have asked me to do just a little bit deeper dive on the business trust. And so we're going to just do a refresher today and share a few things about business trust and give you just a different view maybe of how you might do business. And some of you guys who watched a previous video on this, this will be, a great addition to what you've been learning because there's some things we'll cover today that we haven't covered in the past. And so that's going to be really exciting. So I'm going to share my screen and we will jump in to learning more about the enhanced flexibility of business trust. And so with that said, let's kind of go into it. So got a little video that I want to play and give me just a second. We're going to come back to it because I want to make sure that you guys have no problem with hearing the sound. And so we'll come back there now. But I just want to make sure that do have everything that you're supposed to have it with watching this. And so here we go. All right. So let's just watch the video and then we'll chat.
Welcome back to our journey through the world of business trusts. Today, we dive into a pivotal aspect, flexibility. Flexibility in business is about adapting to changes, navigating through challenges, and seizing opportunities. And when it comes to business trusts, this flexibility is not just a feature, it's a defining characteristic. In Lesson 2, we will explore the remarkable flexibility offered by business trusts, understanding how they can be meticulously designed and adeptly adapted to cater to the unique needs, objectives, and challenges of a business. We will delve into how the operational design of business trusts can be tailored, ensuring alignment with specific business goals, and how they can pivot and adapt to navigate through the dynamic and often turbulent waters of the business environment. Through real-world case studies, we will witness the strategic advantage of flexibility in action, understanding how businesses have leveraged the adaptability of trust to navigate through crises, capitalize on opportunities, and steer their journey towards success. So, let's embark on this insightful journey together, unraveling the strategic potential of flexibility within business trusts, and exploring how it can be harnessed to navigate through the multifaceted and ever-evolving world of business.
Okay, so let's kind of, talk about this whole concept of what, a business trust can do, for a company. For those of you who, I want to back up just a little bit. For those of you who are not as familiar, a business trust is a commercial trust. It's not an estate trust. It can do business. And so with that said, there's some specific things that it has designed inside of it, inside of the actual document that are very different, than what might be in a regular trust document. And when we're looking at the concept of being able to do business as opposed to being able to own a business, I want you to really think about some of the unique opportunities that could present if you decided to use this type of business structure. When we're looking at the basis of trust law and what the concept of having this intimate relationship with trustees and shareholders in a commercial sense. You have the structure that you might need in a business trust to operate many different types of businesses throughout the growth stage. And so from in its very um, rudimentary process, we have to look at the fact that a business trust is an agreement. And in the same way that an LLC has an agreement, which is called the operating agreement, the business trust has this deed of trust or declaration of trust that allows it to give instructions as to how a company might run. Okay. And who would be the parties that would be the trustees, even though there might be other people that are employees and other people that might be, in position to do other functions within the trust. It still has a trustee, a person who is responsible for making sure that the trust operates according to the instructions, there in the deed of trust or the declaration of trust. And so when we understand that that is the case, it kind of helps us to go back to the original concept of the fact that there are 5 things that a trust has to have in order for it to be a viable trust. And we know that to be that there needs to be someone to create it. There needs to be someone who is going to manage it, which is the trustee, the grantor, or the creator, or the settlor is the one who creates the trust. And then the grantor entrusts in the document with a person who's going to run the trust, the ability to follow the instructions that the grantor has laid out. But that's all for the sake of the beneficiaries, right? The people who are the ones that the trust is for the benefit of. And then, of course, we got to have assets. There's no way that the trust itself can operate without assets because it's not viable unless it has something to attach to it, whether it's funds or whether it's property or some unique thing of value. And then, of course, we know that there has to be, the actual document, the deed of trust or the declaration of trust that has to be there. So let's kind of look at some of these definitions. The beneficiary is the individual or entity that is entitled to receive benefits from the trust, often in the form of income or assets. Okay, and so we note that beneficiaries could be children, in a lot of estate trusts they are. It could be siblings or spouses or someone else who's well connected, to the person who created the trust. But in the business trust, the individual who is entitled to receive benefits from the trust could very well be the person who set the trust up. So it could be that or who it was set up for the benefit of, by the grantor, but who is still going to be involved in some way in an aspect in the business. So when we're looking at it from that standpoint, there are lots of things that a business trust could have inside of it, as far as shareholders. Those shareholders could very well be the people who came up with the concept or the idea of the business. And we have to be considerate of that when we're thinking about the structure of the business trust, because in the document, it very well may give some leeway to the people who have come up with this concept of running a company. All right. And then we have the trustee, the individual, the institution, or the entity responsible for managing the assets, operations, and decisions within the trust. And I have to tell you that there are many times in a business trust where the trustee is not necessarily an individual, but it is an organization or a company. A trust company might be the trustee for a business trust. And there are many reasons why that might happen, because if the parties who are the beneficiaries are the ones who are also involved in running the company, they might have an independent trust company or an independent trustee operating in that capacity so they can continue to do the things that they do. And so it's very interesting that in this case, we see, some case studies that, we'll talk about in a separate, we won't have time to talk about it today, but some of the case studies that we will look at are where there are independent trust companies that are actually running the operations side of the trust with regards to how the trust functions, but there are day-to-day people that are also shareholders, who might be doing some things within the company. Okay, and so then we have the trust estates. These are the collective assets and properties held within the trust, managed by the trustees for the benefit of the beneficiaries and for the benefit of the trust itself for continuity's sake. So this might also be equipment. This could be some sort of financial instruments that are there to make sure that the trust remains viable. This could be, some intellectual properties, so when we're looking at collective assets, I want you to be thinking about the fact that, again, this is a company. It's formed for commercial purposes. And so there might be lots of collective assets that are there, for the trust to utilize so that it could make sure that it has everything that it needs to do what it needs to do. There might be bank accounts that are reserves to keep the trust, in a position where even in the case of an economic downturn, there might be, something that would happen that could create a problem. Good morning, Deborah. I see that you're here. Thank you so much for being here with us. And then there also could be pass-through taxation, because this is a system where the income generated by the entity is passed directly to the owners or beneficiaries, being taxed only at the individual level. That could be the case in the business trust, depending on how it's structured. And so this is something that some of you may not have ever heard anything about. And I need to bring this out, that the trust itself, for the most part, most people operate their trust in a way, when it's a business trust, that the income, is inside the trust and it doesn't get passed directly to the beneficiaries. Beneficiaries might leave their income in the trust for many, many years and not take it out and allow it to be distributed to other entities on their behalf, or, something else, whatever is, taxable, could go on a K-1 and be distributed to another entity that they're working with, and for obvious reasons, because it might be a situation where they're trying to fund, their family's entities with the funds that are made from their company that is operating. And so you see this a lot in different kinds of companies that are trusts. And it may be the way that some of the trusts that we have heard of, some of the very large trusts operate, where they actually distribute funds to their subsidiaries, other companies that they are utilizing the trust to build money for. So, there's many different ways that it can happen. But for the companies that are beneficiaries, or the entities, or that they're connected to, the trust may not pay its taxes on the funds. It may decide to pass the money over in a distribution to an individual, or to an entity as well. All right. And so then we want to look at fiduciary duty, the legal obligation of trustees to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries, prioritizing their benefits over self-interest. So when a person or a company is a trustee, it is their responsibility to act in the best interest of the people who are the shareholders in the business trust, prioritizing whatever it is that's going to be beneficial to them over anything that might be beneficial to the trustee or the trust company. And that would be the case because a lot of times when you have a trust company or an independent trustee, they're being paid to be a trustee, and they're being paid a certain amount of money based on the amount of money that might be held in trust, or the amount of duties that might be responsible for with regards to the commercial activities of the trust. So, but it's in their should say, the definition of what they do, their job description per se, the powers of the trustee is the way that it is, stated, and it's within the guise of their powers and in the guise of the way the trust is set up for them to pay attention to the beneficiaries more than they are their own interests. Yes, they may be allowed to be paid, but it does not, preclude them from ensuring that that trust remains viable because of what is needed to be given to the shareholders. And so that's something that a lot of people, would definitely need to pay attention to as they're, becoming trustee or taking on, establishing a trust, is to making sure that whoever they choose has the really are looking at the needs of the shareholders and the responsibility for the continuity of the trust and making sure it remains viable, so that the funds that have been earmarked for the beneficiaries, whether it's an entity or individuals, will be able to be there at the rate and the level that was intended. So let's look at the definition in nature itself. And so we kind of gave a little bit of a definition when we started, but I'll give a more succinct one here. A business trust is a legal entity, as well as, it's a legal document, right? That enables the assets of the operations of a business to be managed by trustees for the benefit of its beneficiaries. Unlike traditional business structures, a business trust amalgamates the protective shield of asset management with the operational mechanics of running a business. It combines these two. And so by looking at, some of you have heard me talk about the fact where you can combine, your estate planning with your commercial activities, and create for yourselves the ability to have money that will flow through your family in perpetuity. Well, when you have a business trust, the business trust could be running the business and operating, companies at a very high level. It could be owning other companies and managing them at a very high level. And then it could be making sure that those funds are, being put aside for shareholders. And one of the shareholders could be your family trust. And so that's a very common structure. Trustees bearing a fiduciary duty navigate the trust estate through the commercial seas, ensuring that the beneficiaries reap the rewards while being shielded from direct operational complexities and liabilities. And so that is a very real thing. It's something that is done, and done very well by many companies. So let's look at the distinction between business trusts and other business entities. When juxtaposing business trusts against more conventional structures like corporations or limited liability companies, several distinctions surface. While corporations and LLCs are bound by stringent regulatory compliances and are subject to different taxation systems, business trusts revel in their ability to offer pass-through taxation, therefore potentially mitigating the burden of double taxation witnessed in some corporate structures. And many of you are aware, and if you've been to our corporation basics course, you've learned that if you have a corporation, when you take a draw, okay, you are taxed. But when the company every year does its taxes, it's taxed. So that's a double taxation issue that happens. And many people become S corps to avoid that particular type of structure. They like the concept of having shareholders and, being able to raise money by selling shares, but they don't like the concept of paying taxes twice. So you might see them take on becoming an S corp, which in and of itself has pros and cons there as well. And some people, they are so excited about becoming an S corp, but there are some things that you might have to consider, which we're not going to talk about today because we don't have enough time, but we will delve into that on our business structure, in our business structure course, and more so when we have the time on YouTube where we talk about reasons why you might not want to be an S corp. We'll dive dive deep into that. But here, when we're looking at the concept of pass-through taxation, there are reasons why people want pass-through taxation, especially if they are in the structure of a business trust, because they can actually pass through the taxation to the people who they're distributing the cash to. And that could be they're distributing it to an entity like their family trust or some other entity like a holding company. Okay. So, based on who the shareholder is, it mitigates the burden of double taxation, and it causes them to have the privacy and the flexibility, that the business trust affords, without the double taxation issue, especially in terms of operational design and asset management. That is a real thing, for a lot of people. They want to be able to develop their company in a manner that is what they were looking for. And so some of those structures can't be done with an LLC or with a corporation, and it can be done with a business trust. So it's a stark contrast to the often rigid structure and publicly scrutinized frameworks of the corporations and LLCs. Okay. So now what are the potential and advantages of utilizing business trust? Well, they are a tapestry of advantages. Really, there's lots and lots of things that you can look at here. For entrepreneur and for business that wants to form one. So the enhanced flexibility allows for tailored operational design, which we talked about that, how you could structure the business trust in the way that makes sense for your company, ensuring that the trust can be molded to meet the specific needs and challenges of the business. While the business is young and small, you can have a structure that operates for the benefit of, its growth. Okay. And the privacy protection shields that need to be there, are there for the people who are, the shareholders. They may be in a situation where they don't want the amount of assets that they have to be known by the whole wide world. Okay. And so having the business trust positions them so that they don't have this public scrutiny. The internal workings of the company are not shared at a level where anybody couldn't get access to that information. And unless there's criminal activity, there's a strategic veil, that allows people to not see, okay, what it is that's going on behind the scenes, of the company. And so, and also it shields them from competitive eyes where, they can be really preparing for a market that doesn't get a chance to see what they're doing ahead of time. This simplified taxation system also within the business trust, and the robust asset protection mechanisms not only provide for the financial efficiencies, but it safeguards the personal assets and of the beneficiaries from business liabilities. So you can really separate your personal family's ownership of the items that belong to your family from what is an issue inside of a company. And so that's really important for you to know. So in summary, as we really look at this foundational understanding of business trusts, you can recognize them for not only as the multifaceted landscape that they may be in commerce, law and finance, but, the nuanced advantages that they have, that allow you to have this operational flexibility and privacy, and it positions them as a viable, albeit often overlooked, alternative to business entities. And as you progress through this course, we want you to really delve deeper into the aspects of the business trust, because we want you to see how it can be used strategically to implement business strategies, and in different kinds of scenarios. Okay, so we're gonna just make sure we have this little knowledge check here, because I want to, stop and just see if everybody is tracking with me. So how does the flexibility of business trust compare to the structures of corporations and LLCs? Well, I'm going to place some opportunities for you to share with us, and you can just put a thumbs up, if you are seeing something here that makes sense. Business trusts and corporations have similar levels of flexibilities and adhere to the same legal structures, or business trusts offer more flexibility and fewer rigid legal structures compared to corporations and LLCs, or business trusts, corporations, and LLCs all have identical flexibility legal structures. Or lastly, business trusts have more rigid legal structures compared to corporations and LLCs. Okay. I'm looking to see if I got any hands up, for any of these. Let's see if somebody's correct. Let's see. That is correct. Business trusts offer more flexibility and fewer rigid legal structures compared to corporations and LLCs. Okay. All right, let's do one more. In what scenarios might the privacy offered by business trusts be particularly advantageous? Well, when a business trust wants to publicly disclose all of their operational details, or when the business trust prefers to share its financial details with competitors, when the business wants to shield its operations and assets from the public and competitive scrutiny, or when the business wants to make all asset details public. So let's look at this and make sure that we are paying attention to the fact that it has the ability to shield its operations and assets from the public and from, any competitive scrutiny. Okay. How does the concept of fiduciary duty safeguard the interests of beneficiaries within the business trust? Well, trustees are legally operated to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries, prioritizing their benefits over any self-interest, or trustees prioritize their own interests over beneficiaries. Trustees have no obligation to act in the best interest or in the interest of the beneficiaries, or trustees and beneficiaries have equal responsibility for managing the trust. And those of you who have been paying attention know that the trustees are obligated to act in the best interest legally, of the beneficiaries, and they really have to prioritize that over their own interest. Okay? All right. All right. Lastly, we're going to play our little video to close this out. But I do want to just, before we do this, open up for any questions that anyone would have, because I want to make sure that, this little deep dive into some of the more important aspects of the trust, did give you, a little bit more intricate view of the trust from the side of, seeing it as a business, seeing it as an entity. It is formulated as an agreement, but it does have the ability to do commercial activities. And many people don't use it, for that. Some people just use it to own companies, not realizing that it does have the ability to operate as a company. We have an entire set of case studies that we've done with regard to the business trust, and that case study opportunity will be put in our comment section so that you can read it and take advantage of what's there. And it talks about different use cases of the business trust, different companies that actually have used the business trust to run their companies and operate their companies at a very, very high level. And so it's important for you to be able to see that and to understand, what you could, take advantage of, in using your trust, and how you can make your trust work for you. And so it's very, very important that you know that if you do formulate a business trust, even though it is not required that the business trust registers with the state, and for that reason, the business trust does not have to fill out the business ownership information form because of the fact that it's not a state registered entity. But what you need to understand about the business trust is that it still needs to have its own EIN number. It needs to form, the right kind of structure within the company to run the company the same way that any other structure should, okay? Because it's going to help it to become accountable, and it to be run like a well-oiled machine, just like any other business. When you they take the time to have standard operating procedures and, to create policies and to make sure that you have, a hierarchy of people who are working in certain positions. If you are not a solopreneur running your business trust and you have other people that are operating with you, use all of our best practices for running a business. And you want to create it to be a valuable business. So the 8 drivers of business value still hold, to the business trust, just like it does any other company. And if, in fact, you do decide to, sell shares of the business trust, there's a way to document that inside of the trust. And so being able to have access to a business advisor, or a business coach, a consultant, a business attorney, all of these particular types of, professionals, will be able to help you in your structuring and help you make sure that you're running the company efficiently. You're going to still need to have a bank account, and you're going to still want to have, the ability to use accounting structures, that make sense for you, whether that's a bookkeeper or, a CPA or a CMA. You want to make sure you have all of the components in there. Don't just go and start a business trust and then say, okay, I'm free to do as I please because I don't have to file anything with the state. No, now you have even more responsibility because you would be more heavily scrutinized if you were not running the trust in such a way that it is operating for continuity's sake, for succession planning, for legacy. The whole purpose of having this particular type of structure is so that your finances can benefit even more, not less. So, with that said, I'm going to play our outro video, but I just want you to understand that this is a very powerful opportunity, and there are lots of things that you can do with the business trust. And get access to our wonderful little case study so that you can pay attention to some of the companies that are using it. There are all types of companies, from security to banks to real estate investment firms and insurance companies. There's tons and tons of use cases for this particular type of commercial structure. And so we want to see you do it and do it well. So let's go ahead and watch our outro video, and then we'll leave you with some other information at the end.
Congratulations on completing Lesson 1. We explored the definition and intrinsic nature of business trusts. Business trusts stand distinct in their structure and operation compared to traditional business entities like corporations and LLCs. Business trusts offer unique advantages such as enhanced flexibility, privacy protection, simplified taxation, and robust asset protection. Beneficiaries and trustees are foundational concepts of business trusts, intertwining operational management and trust law to create a potent entity. Business trusts can be strategically leveraged in various scenarios. For example, they can be used to protect assets, ensure privacy, and streamline ownership transitions. In Lesson 2, we will explore the enhanced flexibility of business trusts and how this flexibility can be a strategic lever in the dynamic world of business.
So you can join us next week. We will kind of delve into the second part of this lesson, where we, do look at the strategic operation of a business trust and what it looks like internally. And so that's going to be something that we'll make available also out here on YouTube, because we just believe that if you had that understanding, then you could make a really good decision as to whether this is a structure that you might want to use for one of your business entities. Well, this has been Patience Rose with Red Worldwide, our co-working live. And so we will be here tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll have some wonderful, wonderful opportunities for you to learn more about, our creativity and what we can do in starting, our businesses from a mindset position to work very differently than they may have worked in the past. Changing our mindset, really does help us. And we did a wonderful expose of that last Wednesday, but tomorrow we're going to delve into it a little bit more. And I also have an app that we're going to be giving away tomorrow. So you want to be here, must be present to win. So you got to be here so you can gain access to this one, because it is going to, help you in your quest for, having something that you can do differently with your mindset, during the day, that helps you to bring a different type of a shift for, creativity's sake, and to help you do the things that are necessary. With that said, we'll see you again next time.